Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how we made the designs for the Christmas baubles we cut on SmartBench. So for this project I have some 18mm stock and I want to create a smaller bauble out of it. So my stock size is 300 by 500. We're only going to use a small corner of this, but I always bring up the full stock because that means I can orientate my project where I want it and get a good visual of what it's going to do to my total stock. So this particular stock is 18mm thick, which seems very thick for a bauble, but we're going to show you how you can make a thin bauble out of a thick piece of stock. So I'm going to open up my vector design. Okay, and the first thing you'll notice is we've got this pretty little stag emblem that's going to sit in the middle. So that's going to sit out at sort of 3 dimensions, okay, and then we've got the actual bauble itself. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this bauble up, and firstly I'm going to spin it by 270 degrees. So when I'm cutting this on my SmartBench, it faces the front, okay. I created this boundary by creating a circle. These circles are actually 75mm round. I then created a triangle using the star drawing feature and taking that down to a 3-sided shape. Okay, so there's my star. And again, I'm going to take this star and I'm going to spin it 270 degrees. And then I'm going to bring that across to here. Now you will notice then that I've got an overlap down here in the circle and I've got an overlap up here at the top. Again, I'm going to take a separate circle and I'm going to drop that in place there. So that boundary, if I keep this vector selected and then select this one and this one, holding the shift and the arrow keys, I can move that outside of our shape. And then I'm going to use the little snip scissors and I'm going to trim away any of the excess from this triangle shape that I don't want. And there we go. That's exactly how I made our bauble outer perimeter. So very easy and very simple. And once I have my bauble there, or the outside vector, I can then come in to the set size tool and I can keep the X and Y linked, which will keep the model in scale, or I can deselect and I can mess around and make this bigger. So if I make it 150mm, that's a huge bauble, and I can take it all the way down into 50mm to make a tiny bauble. So our finished bauble will actually be 75mm across, or 3 inches. So that's how you make that vector. So again, now I've got this outer vector, I wish to VCarve a big proportion of this background away, which means I'll be left with a horrible little lip on the edge of our project. So to get away from that, I've taken our original bauble vector and I've come down here to the offset boundary and I'm going to create then a 6mm boundary and making sure that I've got this one selected for our sharp corners. As you can see there, I've created a separate boundary all the way around our project. So very simply then, I can create this outer waist. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a pocket. So like I said at the beginning, if you look at my stock size, that is 18mm, and that's far too thick for a bauble to hang on a Christmas tree. So I'm going to select this vector and I'm going to select the pocket toolpaths, and I'm going to select my 8mm end mill cutter, and I'm going to pocket down 10mm. So if you've got any stock that's far too thick for a project and you wish to have a desired thickness, you can just mill away from the top. But now we need to remember that when we select this vector, this outside vector, and the inside deer vector to create our VCarve, we need to have a 10mm start depth, because that's now going to be the bottom face of our stock. So I'm going to select the clearance toolpath, and for this clearance, I'm going to select a 6mm cutter. And when I press calculate, oh, sorry, do apologize, flat depth. I want our flat depth to be only 2mm. So that means our little stag emblem is going to stand, or reindeer, whichever you want to call it, is going to stand 2mm proud of the surface. So as I zoom in here, I'm going to hold the control and the left mouse button. And that effectively is our little design standing proud of our newly cut surface. So to make this into a bauble, we're also going to create a pocket, selecting a 3.175 or 1/8 end mill. And we are going to have a start depth of 10mm. And we're going to cut our little pocket 9mm deep. It's going to be a perfect size little hole. for our ribbon just to sit through there. So as you can see, we've got our clearance pass created. We've got our little design sitting on the face of it. We've got our hole for our ribbon to sit through. And the final toolpath is to create a profile cut around the outside using our 6mm cutter. And we're going to add a couple of small tabs, which will be 2mm thick and 20mm across. And on this particular project, we're going to put one tab here and one tab here. And we're going to add a small ramp of 8mm. And we're going to set our start depth to be 10mm down. And we're going to set our cut depth to be 8mm. In fact, if I change that to 9, we'll just go 1mm into our spoil board. So I will preview all of our tool paths. And very quickly, we have a beautifully previewed Christmas bauble. There we go. I'm just going to spend a minute and I'm going to rotate our stock and I'll change that to a nice medium oak finish, just so it looks kind of pleasant to the eye. And what you can see there is our finished bauble design. So we're ready now to save this G-code and send it over to SmartBench using Smart Transfer. So there we are. That's how I designed the bauble that we cut on SmartBench. If you would like to see us cutting this bauble on SmartBench, we've linked to that video in the description below. I hope you found this interesting, guys. Merry Christmas.